Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello and welcome once again to Conversations at Nepal News. Today in our studio we have with us a very young general manager of the Marriott Kathmandu, a young general manager but who's old school. Piotr Madej is our guest today, and so we'll start with the questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, Piotr.
Thank you.
So as the newly appointed GM of Marriott, could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself professionally or personally?
Well, I'm still very young, so I obviously have a lot to learn. But my colleagues from the company always say that I'm young, but I'm old school, right? I think what is the most important factor about my life and my career is that I have always lived in different countries. I have always traveled. My dad worked pretty much like me, so every few years we would move around through different countries. And that gave me exposure to international, to many different cultures, I would say, to international market, to understand the needs and necessities of different cultures. I started my career 22 years ago. I was still 17 in the hotel, and that was away from my country of origin. I'm originally from Poland. That's where I was born, and I was in Italy. That's how I started the hotel journey. And so far it never stopped. My passion hasn't run out yet. I still have a lot of drive and energy to push it forward. I think I joined the international chain. I think that's also important to say, because the international chain gives a lot of opportunities also to travel and to explore more, to grow more. And from Italy, I have traveled through 7 different countries to work in, and my last appointment was in Malaysia, managing one of the Marriott's resorts in Langkawi. And now I'm in Nepal, looking forward to a wonderful journey, probably 3 to 5 years, but we will see how it develops.
So you bring all this global experience as well as the experience within the Marriott. You've been here for some weeks now, so you've had some time to settle in. What has the expectations been before you came here, and so far your experience?
Oh, look, generally Nepal, in my home country, in Poland, where my family comes from, where my wife's family comes from, is a very respected country. We, as Polish citizens, we have our small successes, but we are very proud of them. This is when I talk about mountaineering, about Himalayas, about Nepal generally. So the moment I said to my wife that there is an offer and there is a possibility for us to go to Nepal, there was no even time to consider. It was a yes, we go. You know, when can I pack? So we were very eager to come to Nepal. I find Nepal as a very fascinating country. I have never been to Nepal before, so Nepal I knew before coming was only Nepal that I knew from magazines, from TV programs. And so far, I could say it not only didn't disappoint, but it's exceeding in every possible way. I'm finding a culture that I have never seen before in any other country. I am very happy to meet people who are kind and honest to the extent I have never seen in any other country. And this makes me particularly comfortable as a manager as well in the hotel, but also as a private person. When I walk on the streets and I feel completely safe, I feel I can talk to anybody, I can ask questions. The knowledge of English is also very good, I would say, considering to many other nations that are very often considered much more developed. So the journey is great so far. Yeah.
And how has the experience been meeting the new team? And
Look, every country brings different experience, right? Experience is, I would say, very positive. I think we are all coming out of a very difficult period in the history of our modern era, right? And the team has welcomed me as if it was my home. I felt welcomed from the very first day. I have worked a lot with Nepali people before in other countries where I worked. So the culture and the strong will to help, to work, to perform the work in a very good manner is just what I'm seeing on everyday basis. So I would say the integration is very, very good. Obviously, there is a cultural distance that I need to bridge. This is not something that anybody else can bridge, and it's me getting to know the language, being able to speak the language, being able to communicate a little bit more to people who don't necessarily speak very good English, but also to understand the cuisine. Nepal has a very rich culture, so even the local foods. When I go into places which are not generally perceived as touristic places, and I try to eat the local food, that's where I need to cross the bridge and understand where does the food come from, what are the ingredients, and what is the real taste. Because for many people, food as simple as momo can be momo, and I may enjoy it or I may enjoy it less, but coming from outside, I don't know if it's authentic momo, right? So this is where my understanding of the food needs to go as deep as being able to understand whether the food is authentic, or is it just the food that is being replicated for the needs of the tourists, for example, right?
We've talked before, and there has been some bond with Nepal even before you arrived in Nepal. Would you like to share that with us?
Well, my wife comes from a mountaineering family. Her family has climbed the mountains, the Himalayan mountains, before, and it's important for me as a husband to my wife as well, to bring her to those experiences, and that's something very I would say very important to fulfill the dreams, not only my own, but of my wife. My wife is, I consider my wife to be part of my life fully. There is 50% of me and 50% of my wife. And we managed to fulfill the first dream, which is climbing the Amadablam. So since we arrived, my wife managed to go on the expedition, successfully summit the Amadablam, and successfully come back, obviously.
Coming back to the industry, I mean, the hospitality tourism is going through quite a challenging time. What do you see as some of the opportunities and challenges for you as a hotelier with the Marriott for tourism?
I think the world, as I mentioned earlier, has gone an unprecedented event of global pandemics. And I am a believer that there is a lot of will throughout many different industries and governments in the world to come out of this crisis as quickly as possible. I think for the next 2 years, we should be expecting different variations and different alerts of the restrictions that we have now. But they will not be as serious and as profound as the ones that we have experienced in the first half of 2020 and leading us all the way to the first half of 2021. I think the world has changed. We are so used to wearing masks now. Many of our colleagues, well, as we walk along the street, or as we sit in the meeting room, or as we go for grocery shopping, we meet people who are vaccinated, who have had their booster shots. And I think slowly, the world is coming out of the crisis, and we will not experience the same wave of crisis again. But having said that, I think we need to be very cautious and very careful of how we walk out of this crisis, how much each and every one of us can give to the society. As a manager of an international brand, I need to assure that guests who come to our hotel feel 100% safe. And as much as I also understand we can never have 100% guarantee, there is a number of actions that we can take to make sure that we limit the risks related to COVID-19 or to any other disease. This is why we have procedures. We have a program called Commitment to Clean, which is Marriott's leading hygiene program, assuring guests that we are a safe place to stay. And I think this is something that all other hotels should carry out for the in the next years to come. I would say years to come. The world will evolve, and I don't know what else will come in 2 months, in 3 months, in 6 months. But I'm sure we will need to be all very careful to embrace the change and just to move forward. I think it will be very important for the hotel industry, not only for the big hotel chains, but also for individual hoteliers who run smaller properties, to understand the importance of that cleanliness factor and delivering proper hygiene levels.
The Marriott is one of the hotels that did not close throughout 2020, the lockdown period and everything else. They were still offering hospitality to people who were stuck in Nepal. But the ups and downs, now with the new variant, is that again affecting? I mean, we had some hopes, things were getting a little better, but now there's this new variant. What kind of feedback are you getting?
Okay, so it's a complicated question to answer. Definitely, the Marriott Kathmandu and the Fairfield, the two hotels that I manage, will not close in the future, even for other variants that may come after Omicron, right? This is not something we consider at this stage. I think it's important to give people and to work together with the governments and with the society to walk over this crisis, to get out of this crisis. It's never been a good solution to close, to shut down and to hide. We need to fight. We need to look for alternative ways to provide a clean and safe environment. And I think the Marriott here in Kathmandu has proven that over the period of lockdowns, there was still a demand to have the hotel services. We have proven that we can provide the services safely to all customers, and without breaching any SOPs, we can deliver the service and build a strong feeling with our customers, making them understand that the services can be provided. And this is something that has paid off and is paying off still, because people today, when they have many other alternatives to the Kathmandu Marriott, they still choose the Kathmandu Marriott as their place to stay because they feel safe there.
Also, if you look at the overall tourism industry, the hospitality, the aviation, the travel, do you think we are doing enough to make a comeback for tourism? The situation is always going to be a little fluid, but are we coming together to really, the things you're talking about, sending out the message that we can face it?
As a manager and as a general manager, my job is never to be fully satisfied, right? So I cannot say I am 100% happy. There is always that little bit of hunger, and there is always something that we could do better or we could do more. I think generally as a society we are doing a lot already. Seeing people on the streets here in Nepal, in Kathmandu, wearing masks, sanitizing their hands, that is already a lot. That is something we as society should be doing and should be following. I think as part of international brand, I would request my colleagues from the international brands and also from individually owned hotels to promote those hygiene standards and cleanliness standards, and to help and promote the destination of Kathmandu and of Nepal as a safe destination. With Marriott having over 7,000 hotels around the world, we have a global reach. We are able to reach our customers from belonging to the loyalty program around the world and pass the message. We cannot send the message to everybody. We can send the message to our loyal members. If we combine our forces between big hotel chains and also the government bodies, Nepal Tourism Board, we can send out the message that Nepal is a safe place to be, that we have all the safety protocols in place, and that for the tourism industry, this is a great destination that continues to surprise positively.
Another slightly difficult question, perhaps, is a lot of people perceive Nepal as having too many hotel rooms. Is that going to affect the destination?
Well, there is different ways to look at it. There is obviously the way from the customer's perspective, from guest's perspective. And from the guest perspective, there is never enough. Guest always wants to have more choice, perhaps wants to have rooms only to the east. Sometimes they want only rooms to the west. Sometimes they want high floor, low floor, more of an authentic feeling as well. Some guests will prefer a more modern feeling of the hotel, and they always want to have the choice. If I look at it from my perspective and from a perspective of a travel industry, there is two important factors that I would need to mention. We should continue to develop. I think Nepal and Kathmandu does not have oversupply of hotels, of hotel rooms. I think it is important for the tourism industry to balance well the hotels which are highly centralized, or they belong to a big chain of hotels, and individually managed hotels which are hotels, I would say, below 20 rooms of a size. Because we need certain standardization, we need a certain level of pricing as well, which is important for the Nepal tourism industry to understand how we can drive and how we can balance different pricing segments. As a manager of an international brand, hotel, bearing an international brand, I would say I would love to see more competitors in town, because more competitors and more rooms means we will have more tourists coming. We will have more options for the tourists to come, and that is a cycle that slowly turns and keeps growing. I am not afraid of a competitor set. I would love to see more competition. I think competition drives growth. But definitely it needs to be well balanced, and it needs to be a healthy competition.
On another note, Have you had a chance to travel around Nepal? What's on your bucket list? What's next? You've climbed Ahmadabalam, but
Oh, well, look, I think Nepal has a lot to offer. I have 2 hotels to manage. I think it is a little bit difficult for me within the first 6 months of coming into the job to realistically leave the property and step out and go to explore the countryside. I am myself. I'm a passionate cyclist. So every moment that I have free, which is probably between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., I jump on my bicycle and I go for a ride. So this is my experience of Kathmandu. This is where I take different routes and see different sides of the city and of town. I have not had the chance to travel yet, but I do have my satellite, my wife. And my wife takes every opportunity to travel. So, as I mentioned, well, the expedition to Ahmadabalam was an expedition of 1 month. So, she didn't have much more time to see a lot more. But she has been to Chitwan, she has been to Pokhara, which are, I would say, the 2 biggest destinations in Nepal. And I treat that sort of as a reconnaissance. So I send my wife, she sees what can be seen, what needs to be seen, and where the places maybe that we can commit less time to are. So once I get my chance to travel, I will already know where to go.
and as a final question, if you had to tell people from your home country or countries where you worked, what is it that you would tell them about Nepal?
Come right now. Come right now. I think, look, Nepal surprised me positively in every possible way. When we talk about people, how nice people are, how welcoming people are. When we talk about cuisine, how much the local and authentic kitchen of Nepal has to offer. The sceneries are absolutely beautiful, stunning, and I would say come to Nepal immediately, right? It's something I cannot wait for the moment I will have time to get out of the hotels and go to explore to Nepal. I feel very safe here. I think this is very important, and I feel very safe both in terms of my personal safety, but also in terms of how much the destination is doing to prevent the spread of the pandemic. I think the country has done a lot, and cannot wait to visit.
Thank you so much, Piotr, and I hope you get the opportunity to visit as much of Nepal as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.